esandleni. Oh, hallelujah. Umthandazo wami. Good evening. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for joining us on Zambia What a Day. Thank you so much for making time to find out some of the things that are happening in the country. We're very delighted that you've made this time, and it's great to have you here. It's a very interesting time, a very interesting time for the world, a very interesting time also for our own country. Anyway, my name is Dingindaba Jonah Buyoya. What do we do here? We take a look at some of the big news stories and we add context to them. So thank you so much for joining in. All right, it's not like I pressed a button for that applause or anything. It's just the love that you people have for what we do. And you, all right, thank you. What are we going to talk about? Well, there's some stories that have absolutely nothing to smile about. And one of these stories has got to do with what's going on in Southern Province with some people with albinism. And this has got to be super bizarre, what story I'm about to share. But we'll quickly take a look at that. But also, there's a UN envoy who is in the country and is going to be here for an assessment of freedom of expression in the country. I've got a bit of a backstory when it comes to this. I've got a bit of a backstory when it comes to this specific story, and it's going to be quite interesting. So let's stick around for that. But let me get straight into these stories. And my first story has got to do with a family in Gwembe, that's in Southern Province, which has been left shocked and emotionally disturbed after the grave of their albino relative was discovered open. The grave of Sebastian Mwinga, he passed away in 1999, was found disturbed, raising concerns about whether the remains are still intact and what the purposes are for the disruption that could have happened. The family, which is definitely somber and distraught from this development, took one of our reporters at Diamond to the site of the grave, and they were showing what was tampered with by unknown people, and they expressed their shock and confusion, particularly since the grave is located at their home, and it's very unfortunate.
In some cultures, people believe that the spirit of someone who has died directly influences the family members, hence graves are the most preserved and respected places. However, in Munyumbwa chiefdom of Gwembe district in Southern Province, a bizarre situation has emerged where a family and the community woke up to a rude shock when they found that the grave of their late albino relative, identified as Sebastian Mwinga, who died in 1999, had been tampered with by unknown criminals, leaving it partially open.
Titwaujana tijumbwe ja musanko jiri hukudwe bamaga into bagali gonka kujera jihumbe bagatwambira.
The people who alerted us were the women who were plucking vegetables from the nearby bush, and we verified that the grave was tampered with. And so we reported the matter to the police.
Mutapengi tulabola tuiwichite investigate kutwambo tonse mulimbo tubedde on.
Gwangu mebo mulisi boku. Imendinda ukala munsi ajumbwe jijaga humbwa.
I'm the one who stays near this graveyard which they tampered with, and I'm not happy at the turn of events, because anyone can consider me as the first suspect. And somber mood characterized when family members took this reporter to the said graveyard.
Muzungu, mwana wagwesu, uteho usoba na pe, nuhurumende, nimwabuala oguno.
The person we buried here is our relative. I appeal to government to intervene and help us in this matter to bring the culprits to book.
Na mahuwa mulange, nilalomba wamba uti, bantu bagajitajeji ndisanga mavago heba.
Gwembe District Commissioner Kilian Jikandula confirmed the incident and promised the family that authorities will put their request into consideration.
And actually this report was given to the police and also to our office concerning the grave that was tempered. And I'm there to confirm to them to say For sure, the grave was tempered because the report came from the community. That was done officially. So on this one, we are very sorry. So on this one, as a government, we'll make sure that the case is followed. And the culprits should be brought to book.
And Butterfly Foundation Zambia, an organization concerned with the plight of albinos, wants justice for the affected families.
We want to appreciate the police officers for assisting us actually to come to this place. And also it's also our appeal that the stakeholders and the police officers to work with us so that cases like this can be reported and those who are behind it should be arrested.
Information njo tujisi atubapepa police. Agambagala chisaga chitika wa wataganone.
It is indeed a bizarre situation in this part of Southern Province, Gwembe district in Munyumbo chiefdom. And although someone can have so many questions as to why people can engage themselves in tampering with the remains of the person who died on 27th March 1999, police are yet to give details. Helga Chiwe, Damo News, Gwembe district in Southern Province.
When you think about it, you come to the rude awakening, if I should call it that, of how primitive people can be. At this day, at this time, in this day and age, I wouldn't have thought we would still be talking about people using other people for rituals simply because of what they look like. And I guess that's us living in a bubble, isn't it? Because people still believe these things out there, and they still go around doing such things. And you get really, really surprised at some of these things. But then also we're reminded of how different we are as people in our beliefs. And some of these beliefs, as terrible and as primitive as they are beliefs that are held within our society. And when such beliefs are held in our society, you will see such things happening. The man died in 1999, and people are still trying to get his remains and use them for whatever purpose. But I mean, it's only a week ago when we were talking about a woman that had a skeleton in her home, her husband's skeleton in her home, and the family now sharing that it was definitely spiritual. There were spiritual beliefs attached to it. They claim that they were praying for his bones and for him to resurrect. Obviously, that's unreasonable to expect, but all these issues just remind us of the type of society we are as a people. But there's also a very sad story of a family in northern province, I believe, northern or Luapula, but their family in Zambia. Sorry. Yeah, that's Luapula. Their family has been left homeless after lightning struck their home and ignited a fire. And so this fire swept through their house and left only ashes behind. And the family has reported losing everything. And this includes essential farming inputs. Nothing was salvaged from the blaze. Very sad, very, very sad. It reminds me of, when I was growing up, I had a friend who was struck by lightning, and he never died from being struck by lightning. He lived on. But what was also quite interesting was how after he was struck by lightning, he developed a stammer. He started stammering. Like he didn't stammer before, but after that, he started stammering. And it was quite an experience, I have to tell you. It was quite an experience going through all of that with him, and he was never the same. He was never the same after that. But this family, quite sad. It's in the same area actually, where there was where a young girl was struck by lightning, and she unfortunately died.
A lightning fatality was recently reported in Zambia district, where a 16-year-old girl lost her life. Tragically, another lightning strike in Zambia has caused significant destruction to a family, leaving them with nothing. The strike ignited their house, reducing all their belongings to ashes.
Puna vyalipya, matresi yalipya.
Everything was lost in the fire, including farming inputs, clothing, school uniforms for the children, and money.
Ama uniform yabaka skulu nensapato vyalipya. Kwa ine vyakufimba na vyesu. Na vyafine vyalipya tapashena nguchimu ne vyakufwala.
The family's livelihood comes from farming, but nothing was spared in the fire. This has severely disrupted our farming, as everything was destroyed by the lightning-induced fire. The 8-member family is now living in a doghouse as they await assistance from well-wishers. We are struggling to provide for our children. All we ask for now is a tent and food to help sustain us during this difficult time. They are grateful that no one was injured, as they were outside at the time and witnessed the lightning strike before the fire erupted. Kalombe Kapambwe, Diamond News.
But now there's a story about terror that's gripping Eastern Province as a string of aggravated robberies target motorbike riders. So motorbike riders are now a victim or a target of these attacks by these aggravated robbers.
A wave of terror is gripping motorbike riders in Eastern Province as a spate of aggravated robberies have left many injured and others murdered. In just 7 days, 8 robberies have occurred, sending fear through the motorbike community. The latest incident happened on 18th January 2025, where a mob took the law into their own hands, battling 2 suspected criminals who had attacked a motorbike rider along Magwero Road. This reporter met with Onani Banda, one of the traumatized motorbike riders whose motorbike was snatched from him after 2 criminals pointed a gun at him. As we started off from town, we reached somewhere near the hills, and the customer said he wanted to go and urinate. After a while, 2 men in masks, they appeared, and they came from behind, pointed a gun at me, and asked me to choose between a motorbike or life. I chose life. That's how they stole a motorbike from me. He says. The rise in aggravated robberies has sparked widespread concern among motorbike riders who are now calling for increased security measures. Most of the accidents for motorbike riders, they happen at night. Maybe we should reduce moving at night as motorbike riders for our security's sake. Police should also intensify investigations, and when these people are caught, they should be sentenced to life imprisonment because they are killing us a lot. As the police struggle to contain the situation, motorbike riders are being advised to exercise extreme caution when traveling, especially at night.
As police in the Eastern Province, I have to say, we are very much concerned with my officers. As police, the division and the entire province, we are now engaging the mayor so that we have or we talk to our brothers, the motorbike riders. We are going to have a meeting with them. We call them and we tell them the bad part of working in the night.
Samuel Sylvester Kwawe, Diamond News, Eastern Zambia.
They're very vulnerable, so we have to acknowledge the fact that they're very vulnerable and they need to, I don't know, how they can take precaution. But in Eastern Province, they don't have Yango or any of these riding apps yet. But I think that's one of the security measures that you could put in place. But I also think that there's some things that people don't realize, but they are very, very cheap tools that you can use to track your devices actually. And some of these tools I had no idea. I have a colleague I was traveling around the world with, and we were working on a couple of stories. And when we were traveling, he would check in his baggage, right, his equipment. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, why are you checking it in? Why don't you fly with it on the aircraft? He's like, why? I'm like, what if you lose it? Because you know how we value equipment, cameras. And he just showed me a small hack. He just bought a device on Amazon, and he was able to check where his equipment is at every given time. And these are some of the things we should do even for our cars. Very simple, very simple. It was nothing more than $10. And bringing it here to Zambia should be about an extra $15. So $25, and you've got a gadget on Amazon that helps you track your device. And I think it's a cheaper solution to all of these tracking things. I'm told that there are people that even sell such gadgets already. So, it's very important to just add that extra caution for your property, because it's expensive to buy. These things are expensive to buy. Now, the United Nations Special Rapporteur on Freedom of Opinion and Expression, Irene Khan, has arrived in the country, and she's here to conduct a 10-day assessment of issues related to the right of freedom of opinion and expression. Her focus includes legal frameworks and policies concerning the safety of journalists. And she was meeting with the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Mulambo Haimbe, and she says her mission is to engage with stakeholders and provide recommendations to strengthen freedom of expression in the country. The minister has reaffirmed government's commitment to cooperating with the UN mission, emphasizing that the United Party for National Development is firmly grounded in upholding the rule of law. The minister also assured Ms. Khan that she would have full access to all relevant stakeholders.
Irene Khan, the UN Special Rapporteur on the promotion and protection of the right to freedom of opinion and expression, is on a mission in Zambia to evaluate the country's adherence to international standards on free speech. The visit comes at a critical time as the nation grapples with alleged balance in democratic rights and regulatory frameworks. Khan's findings and recommendations will be compiled into a report to be presented, outlining Zambia's progress and areas requiring improvement.
I will also listen to other stakeholders. I'm here to find ways in which I can give you advice, and I can also discuss with you recent developments or legislative developments, other issues of how to strengthen your government's commitment to human rights, especially freedom of opinion and expression. In the early days, particularly today, I'm here more to listen than to say anything. I will, of course, present my findings to your government on the last day of my visit, which is the 31st of January, and after that, I will speak to the media.
Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Mulambo Haimbe, says Zambia remains committed to upholding freedom of opinion and expression as enshrined in the Constitution.
With regard to the freedom of expression, Article 20 is clear that all citizens and persons within Zambia will enjoy an inalienable right to the freedom of expression and opinion. And I think that is a starting point for us as we undertake this very important exercise. Your Excellency, the reason I mentioned that is because we have some, perhaps what I can term historical context to how this freedom has been observed and enjoyed in the recent past with previous administrations. And we, through President Hakainde Hichilema, our Republican president, have taken a deliberate effort that we want to ensure that we are governed by the rule of law.
But what do some opposition political leaders feel about her visit?
Hopeful that the UN Human Rights Rapporteur who's visiting the country for the next 10 days will are hopeful that the propaganda and the narrative that the UPND have been channeling out to mislead the international community and key stakeholders like the UN Human Rights Commission, that propaganda will be debunked. They will come and see for themselves the abuse that the Zambian people, particularly from the opposition, have been subjected to by the UPND government. The arrest of many youths on the basis of the fact that either through Facebook or through WhatsApp, groups, or indeed TikTok, who have expressed themselves over their dissatisfaction to the governance and performance of this government and have ended up being arrested.
As Zambia opens doors to its international scrutiny, it remains to be seen whether this visit will bring about meaningful change or merely add to the growing list of unfulfilled commitments. Victoria Kayeye Yambani, Diamond News.
So, here is what's interesting about all of this. I don't know why there's a bit of panic with the side of government that she's here, and they're worried about, opposition getting to say lots of crazy things on the media while she's here. I have a different way of looking at it. I feel like she's here for the next 10 days to assess the freedom of expression in the country. I think the best way to assess the freedom of expression in the country is to let people express themselves. And it doesn't matter what they say, because she's here to see whether they say these things, whether they're allowed to say these things. And if we allow these people to say these things, then she's assessing Zambia the right way. It's not to find every opportunity to answer everything that the opposition say, but to let them say what they have to say. And agreeing with it is a different thing. But if they are able to say the things they want to say, I think it's a great picture for Zambia. It's a good assessment, I think. That's one of the ways I would personally look at it. But also, from the United States, Donald Trump is president one more time. And it is a very significant year, 60 years of 60 different inaugurations. And he also happens to be the guy who's inaugurated the 60th time, Donald Trump, as also the 47th president of the United States. I see. His supporters very happy, and his supporters in the United States and around the world, because he has supporters. I think he has that many supporters. The United States democracy is quite big. The country itself is big. I mean, it's 50 different states coming together to form one state. So it's huge, and that's the reason why it's got that much influence. And yeah, we'll see what his presidency is going to bring. I honestly could care less, because I think that it's also time for us to start focusing on a lot of our own stuff here. They've got a lot of influence, true, but it shouldn't mean so much to us. That it shouldn't mean so much to us like it does already. But anyway, that's honestly as much as I can say about the U.S. Inauguration. It's an American thing. It's for them. It's nice to see the people happy. That's what democracy is all about. We have our own such moments. And we have one coming up next year. Regardless of what the outcome is going to be, whoever wins represents a majority. So we're looking forward to that. But again, thank you so much for joining in. What we do is we give you highlights of some of the stories that are making news in our country and around the world. And we're very happy to always do this on a lighter note and add a bit of context to some of these issues. So thank you so much for joining in. My name is Dingindaba Jonah Buyoya. Yes. It's a bye-bye.